Let's dive into a story that's thousands of years old, but wow, its lesson on loss feels like it could have been written for this very moment. It's the story of the mustard seed, a really powerful parable about grief, wisdom, and one mother's seemingly impossible quest. The story kicks off with this really profound and unavoidable truth from the Buddha. Life is troubled, it's brief, and it's tied up with suffering. I know, it's a heavy place to start, but it's the exact reality that our main character is about to face, head on. So let's meet her. Her name is Kisa Gotami, and when we first meet her, she's at the very beginning of her journey, just completely lost in an ocean of unbearable grief. You see, Kisa Gotami was a young mother, and her child was her entire universe. So when he passed away suddenly, her reality it completely shattered. The pain was so huge, so all-consuming, that it literally broke her connection to the world as she knew it. Her grief was so deep, it turned into a powerful state of denial. She just couldn't accept that her son was gone. So she walked through her village, clutching his body, desperately begging anyone and everyone for some kind of medicine that could bring him back. Her neighbors, they could only look on with pity. No one had a cure like that. But then, a kind villager offers her a totally different kind of hope. It's not a medicine, but a person. The one person who might, just might, have an answer. And this is the moment that changes absolutely everything, sending her on a path to find the Buddha. So Kisa Gotami makes her way to the Buddha, and he gives her a brand new mission. She's not looking for medicine anymore. Now she's on a quest for one single, very specific mustard seed. And the Buddha's response here is just remarkable. He doesn't dismiss her or her pain. He meets her right where she is, and he gives her a task. He says, yes, I can help you, but first you have to do this one thing. Bring me a handful of mustard seeds, but they have to come from a house where no one has ever died. This mission gave her exactly what she needed, a little flicker of hope and a real sense of purpose. So Kisa Gotami starts her search, and this really powerful, heartbreaking pattern begins to emerge almost immediately. At every house she visits, she's met with kindness, of course. People have mustard seeds to spare. But then she asks that crucial question. Has anyone in this home ever died? And the story changes. Every single family shares its own tale of loss. A husband, a parent, a child. She leaves each and every home with empty hands, but with a growing, profound understanding. As she goes from house to house to house, that feeling of her empty hands is replaced by the weight of this huge realization. The quest, it was never really about finding a seed. It was about finding a truth. This is it. The simple, totally earth-shattering conclusion to her search. It wasn't that people didn't want to help her. It was that no one, absolutely no one, was untouched by death. Her personal, isolating agony was actually a universal human experience. When she finally returns to the Buddha, she doesn't have any mustard seeds, but she has something way more valuable: wisdom. Her whole perspective has shifted. The I of her personal pain has expanded into the we of our shared loss. She realizes she was never truly alone in her sorrow. She was just blinded by it. Kisa Gotami's realization, that's the real heart of the story. So let's unpack the incredible wisdom she discovered, starting with some of the core teachings her journey so perfectly illustrates. Okay, so the first core idea her journey reveals is something called dukkha. This is the essential truth that suffering and sorrow and just dissatisfaction, they're a built-in part of life. Kisa Gotami started her quest feeling like she was cursed, that her pain was unique to her. She ended it realizing that this kind of sorrow is a fundamental, shared thread in the fabric of human experience. And that leads right into the next truth, aniksha, or impermanence. I mean, her entire quest was a masterclass in this principle. Every single story of loss she heard was just another confirmation that nothing lasts forever. Everything that has a beginning, a life, a moment of joy, a feeling, also has an end. And that brings us to the third teaching, anatta, which is often translated as non-self, but it's really about attachment. A huge part of Kisa Gotami's initial pain came from clinging so tightly to the idea of my child. The wisdom here is that when we attach our whole identity to things that are, by their very nature, not permanent, well, suffering is pretty much guaranteed. Nothing is ever truly ours to keep. And we really have to talk about the Buddha's teaching method here. It was just an act of incredible compassion. He didn't lecture her, he didn't preach, he didn't tell her to get over it. He used what's known as skillful means. He gave her a task that would let her arrive at the truth all by herself, through her own direct experience. He basically empowered her to have her own awakening. It's brilliant. So, this all leads us to the final, and maybe the most important lesson in this whole story. How we can actually find peace, not by trying to avoid pain, but by changing our relationship to it. The Buddha's final words here make the path crystal clear. Wisdom isn't about not feeling sad. It's about refusing to get lost in that sadness. When we can accept the things we just cannot change, like the reality of loss and impermanence, we can find a solid ground of peace, even when we're surrounded by sorrow. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? The path to peace isn't some detour around life's toughest moments. No, it's a path that goes straight through them, but armed with the understanding that you are not walking it alone. The mustard seed Kisa Gautami was looking for was never the point. The search itself, that was the cure. And so that really leaves us with a final question to chew on. If this fundamental, often painful experience of loss is the great connector, the one thing that truly touches every single one of us, how might that knowledge change the way we treat ourselves and the way we treat everyone else we meet?